All right, let's dive straight into this explainer and unpack a truly fascinating global phenomenon. Today, we're going to figure out exactly why billions of people will completely rearrange their entire lives for a game where 22 grown men chase a ball around a field for 90 minutes. We're going to look right past the pitch and peer directly into the human nervous system to find the actual engine driving this worldwide obsession. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. Why obsess over a ball? When you break it down, it sounds totally absurd on paper. For most of those 90 minutes, let's be honest, not much actually happens. It's mostly players passing sideways, someone inevitably taking a dramatic dive to fake an injury, and very, very few actual goals. Yet this exact scenario makes grown adults skip work, scream at their TVs, cry, and literally fight in parking lots. It completely defies logic. You might think people are just naturally addicted to the sport itself, but here's the secret. The answer isn't football, it's your brain. Football might actually be one of the most perfectly engineered dopamine machines that humanity has ever accidentally invented. And once we break down the mechanics of how this actually works in your head, I promise you're never going to watch a match the same way again.
First things first, we've got to bust a massive scientific myth. Most people think dopamine is just the pleasure chemical, right? They assume it's that little hit of happiness you get when your team finally scores. But the reality is completely different. Dopamine is actually all about prediction. It isn't the reward itself, it's the intense anticipation of what might happen next.
Picture this. Back in the 1990s, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz ran this brilliant experiment on monkeys. First, he gave them a squirt of juice, and naturally, their dopamine spiked. But then, he tweaked it. He started playing a simple tone right before dispensing the juice. Over time, an incredible shift happened. The monkey's dopamine completely stopped firing for the actual juice and started firing for the tone instead. The brain's reward system had completely shifted to the prediction. It was the brain going, "Oh man, something good is incoming."
And this brings us to a foundational, absolutely crucial concept in neuroscience: reward prediction error. Your brain is basically a tiny fortune teller. All day, every day, it's making these microscopic predictions about what's going to happen next. Dopamine doesn't track the actual reward you get, it tracks the gap between reality and those tiny expectations your brain just made.
So the really important part is how your brain reacts to that gap. If reality matches your prediction perfectly, your dopamine stays completely flat. It's boring. If reality is worse than expected, your dopamine crashes and you feel that terrible gut punch of disappointment. But if reality is surprisingly better, boom, dopamine spikes. A predictable goal you saw coming from a mile away is just, nice. But a goal out of absolutely nowhere in the 89th minute? That creates a massive neurochemical explosion, because to your brain, surprise is the actual drug.
Now, you'd naturally think that a guaranteed 100% certain reward would feel the absolute best. But Schultz found something that casino owners absolutely love. Your dopamine response actually peaks when the odds are sitting right around 50-50. When your brain genuinely cannot predict what is about to happen, it enters the state of maximum uncertainty. Something as simple as a coin flip is incredibly addictive to your neural pathways.
Science formally calls this a variable ratio reward schedule. It's an unpredictable reinforcement pattern. Because you never ever know exactly when the payout is coming, your dopamine system just stays pinned to the ceiling. This is the exact addictive engine driving slot machines. It's what keeps you scrolling on social media. And yep, it is the exact engine driving the sport of football.
So, how does this actually play out on the pitch? Well, football acts exactly like a slot machine, because the final result lies all the time. A team can completely dominate a match. They can have 70% possession, rack up 25 shots, just attack wave after wave. By every logical metric, they played better, but they can still lose the game 1-0 because of a single incredibly lucky counterattack totally against the run of play.
This happens because, unlike basketball or tennis, goals in football are ridiculously rare. We're talking maybe 2 or 3 a match total, sometimes 0. Because the scoring is so low, the final result just doesn't have the sample size required to accurately reflect who the better team actually was. A random slip by a goalkeeper, a wild deflection off a defender's shin, these totally random moments can decide everything. It bakes this unpredictable, unshrinkable uncertainty right into the core DNA of the sport. And honestly, the neuroscience gets even crueler. Think about a striker hitting a shot that just rattles the post and bounces out, followed by that huge collective groan from the stadium. Studies on gambling show that your brain's reward circuitry treats that almost as a loud signal to keep going,
It tells your brain, hey, you are so close, the reward is right there. It's definitely not a consolation prize, it is an accelerant. It cranks the tension higher and higher through 90 agonizing minutes of near misses.
But here's the thing. While this dopamine prediction error perfectly explains the tension and why we can't look away, it leaves us with a pretty massive mystery. It doesn't quite explain the aggression. It doesn't explain why reasonable adults scream at each other or throw punches over a team in a city they might not even live in. To understand that, we have to look past dopamine entirely and unpack the oldest software running in your head, tribal belonging. The ball is really just a totem the tribe gathers around.
You see, your brain is, above all else, a social survival machine. For the vast majority of human history, being cast out of the tribe meant you were going to die. It was game over. Because of that ancient wiring, your brain still treats being part of an us, having a tribe, as a literal life-or-death survival concern. Group membership equals staying alive.
The problem we face today is that modern life has largely stripped away our traditional villages. A lot of people walk around feeling deeply, fundamentally tribeless, but a football club? It perfectly fills that evolutionary void. It instantly hands you a pre-assembled tribe. You get the team colors, you get a chant, you inherit this deep shared history, and boom, you suddenly gain 100,000 brothers and sisters who you've never even met, but who all share the exact same identity. We won, or we lost. And this is exactly what explains those extreme, visceral reactions. When some rival fan insults your team, your brain doesn't process it logically as a calm debate about sports statistics. No way. It processes it as a literal threat to the tribe. It feels like a physical attack on your village. Your survival circuitry lights up, the heat rises, and sometimes fists start flying. Your brain is just defending the club exactly as it would have defended the tribe thousands of years ago.
So when you take all these powerful neurochemical triggers and zoom out, what you really have is a global dopamine event. It is the ultimate slot machine.
Just look at a massive tournament like the World Cup. It's the perfect neurochemical storm. You have maximum unpredictability, where literally anyone can beat anyone on a given day. You have those incredibly rare, explosive goals creating massive prediction errors in your brain. You have endless, agonizing near misses keeping everyone leaning forward. And it fuses millions of people into a single, massive we. It's literally 2 billion people sharing one nervous system, all hooked up to the exact same slot machine at the exact same time. So the next time someone tries to brush it off and tells you football is just 22 guys running after a ball, remember that mechanically, sure, they're right. But neurologically, your brain was never really watching the ball at all. Your brain is utterly addicted to the unpredictable maybe, and that maybe is without a doubt the most powerful psychological hook in the world.
To wrap up this explainer, I want you to take a second and reflect on your own reward prediction circuitry. What is the most painful, completely undeserved defeat your team has ever put you through? You know the one that defied all the stats, totally shattered your dopamine predictions, and somehow still stings years later. Think about how your brain processed that exact moment. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive today, and keep questioning what's really driving your habits.